Divine feminine is dark feminine. My kitty. Hey retro babes, it's GOOGii. Today we are gonna talk about one of my favorite movies of all time. I know I say that in every video, but I have too many movies I like. I'm a movie buff. I don't know what to tell you guys. This video is more about like embracing your goddess energy. Like I told you guys, I wanted to talk more about my spirituality and my spiritual journey, and that involves goddesses, especially dark goddesses, and embracing femininity and embracing the matriarch. As you can see by the title back behind, this video is about how Catwoman is the perfect embodiment of goddess energy. I have been working with goddesses for the past 3 or so years, and not necessarily like working with them, because that is serious work. Working with a goddess is serious work. I'm more so like researching them and looking at their stories, especially the ones that are quote unquote misunderstood, and seeing how empowering they are, what I can learn from their stories, what about their attributes and traits I can embody. And when I first saw the Catwoman movie as a child, I already knew that I was gonna come back to this movie. I knew it had a deeper meaning because like everybody hated that movie. I feel like I was the only one who was like, this is the most amazing movie I've ever seen. The aesthetic was given like 3D futuristic Matrix, which was so on brand at the time because I believe the movie came out in 2004, and it honestly gave the same amount of like 3D-ness as Spider-Man did, and I'd rather watch Catwoman than Spider-Man. I feel like the negative connotation with cat ladies, it was a movie definitely ahead of its time. A lot of these movies from back then that were not seen as great movies that had women as leads, shocker backer, were ahead of their time, and the audience just wasn't mentally ready. Let's just be honest with it. They were not mentally ready for a movie like this, because I can't for life of me understand. You can be for woman empowerment and hate this movie. You should love this movie, study this movie. And you know, 2004 was the year notoriously known for all of the great movies, so I guess it probably got overshadowed. Halle Berry accepted her Razzie Award and she was just bashing the entire movie.
Thank you for putting me in a piece of shit god-awful movie.
I hated it. I remember watching it on YouTube when like YouTube first came out. Yes, I'm old. I hated watching it because I'm like, girl, you better stand up for your art. I feel like she only did that because people told her it was terrible. Like if she did that movie now and everybody thought it was great and she got an Oscar for it, she would be crying again like she did the last time she got the Oscar. They didn't want to see a black woman in power. I felt like it was just so more so compared with a lot of like Batman movies or DC movies. A lot of people compare them to the 80s and 90s versions. The Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman, everybody compares every Catwoman to her, and it's like Halle Berry's Catwoman actually embodies the Catwoman from the comic books. If you read the comic books and the graphic novels, she was a true woman who took back her own power. She was a true anti-hero, like vigilante, like Deadpool, where she is here for her. With her, there's no right or wrong. It's just her. That's what I like, and we're gonna get to that in a second about the dark feminine aspects of this movie. So this movie starts out with Patience Phillips, and I resonate with Patience so much because I used to be like the meek, shy artist. I still kind of am the meek, shy artist who was just like had this big career for themselves but just settled because that's all they thought they could get. I'm pretty sure the movie is set in New York. From what I know, it's like the big city, but I guess it's Gotham technically. She was so in this feminine energy that was like kind of meek and wounded. Like she would even apologize for her existence. I'm sorry. She was a people pleaser, and I definitely resonate with all those things because I am a person who used to apologize for everything, my existence. I would try so hard to be quiet, not to be seen, not to be heard. And I love the fact that it was a black woman doing this, because as black women, we can resonate with growing up. You were supposed to be not seen or not heard. You're supposed to be in the background as a form of respect. You couldn't really speak up for yourself and your family, stuff like that. So I just really love that. Another aspect of the movie was young versus old and beauty standards. It really attacked beauty standards, especially women trying to look younger and younger. When that movie came out, that was in the era of like CoverGirl and ageless serums and everybody trying to look younger, where they were trying to push the 30 is the new 20. They were trying to like keep their youth, while the new people were emerging, the new generation was emerging, kind of like how it is now, where the new generation is emerging and the older generation is just like a little, in a sense, being pushed in the background. There's different set of values now than there were before. Also, if you guys watch TikTok, I have figured this out too. I didn't know this before because I'm Black, but apparently with white people, there's this whole beauty standard with blonde versus brunette, and you see it in this movie too, the blonde versus brunette whole thing. I can't really speak too much on that because that's not my demographic, clearly. So I feel like with every golden retriever, there's always like a black cat, pun intended, energy. And for Patience, her best friend was definitely the black cat energy. Her best friend didn't give a fuck, for better term of word. She knew her privilege and she used that. She definitely used that. She was like, fuck these people, fuck this place, fuck everybody. I'm here to get my money and go home. And she was trying to push Patience because honestly, to her, this was just a job. She knew for Patience, this could make her career as an artist. She was trying to remind her of her own talent and power and that she's a hottie too. Her boss honestly was terrible. He thought he could talk to her any kind of way because she did not demand respect. I don't think she ever was put in a position to demand respect or even knew what that would look like for her. And there was one scene where he came for her appearance and I was ready to fight because y'all know I don't play about that. Also, Patience's fashion sense was very specifically curated for this movie and I loved it. I wanted to look like her before and after her transformation, but definitely the before with the curly hair and she was very artsy like looking, but it was still fashionable. So for him to come to her for her appearance, I wanted to fight. I was ready to fight that man, y'all. And like, not for nothing, her loft apartment was so cute. It was so cute. I love a good loft apartment. I actually love her apartment as more of like the city girl loft. And I love Michelle Pfeiffer's apartment as Catwoman in, I think, Batman Returns. I don't remember the name of the movie, but her apartment, oh, that's my dream apartment. That's why I have my light. You guys can't see it, but I have my light up there because I just love that apartment. I've noticed with goddesses, they don't necessarily test you. They can test you, but like, I feel like you'll be tested to see if you're ready for your transformation. And definitely looking back on my life, I can see when a goddess starts to appear herself. The goddess that was specifically working with her, his name is Bast. And Bast is a cat goddess, a woman's form and a cat for a head. When she was in her apartment, she saw a cat go on the ledge and she's like in a very high-rise apartment. It tested her fears to face her fears and it tested her compassion for cats. This is also where she meets Detective Tom Lone. He tries to save her because he thinks she's trying to jump off a ledge, which also shows how two people can see one situation and have two completely different perspectives. He thinks that she's a crazy lady trying to jump off a ledge, when actually she's a crazy lady trying to jump on a ledge to save a cat. So I am like giving a kind of a rundown of this movie because there's so much in it that has to do with her journey. Like literally I have to give a whole breakdown of the whole thing. But I'm generally speaking on her transformation. I highly encourage you to watch the full movie. Then you'll understand like the depth of it. I honestly might watch it again after this because I freaking love this movie. But the company she works for, she had one last chance to hand in her project. And when she was going to hand in her project, the company was closed. So she had to go to an alternate location to drop it off. I think it was like their factory. Once again, nobody was in the factory. So when she walked into the factory, she was basically trespassing. She saw something she wasn't supposed to see and they had a kill order out on her.
You can come out now, it's okay. We'd just like to ask you a few questions, all right?
Sorry, but I think maybe I'm in the wrong.
I know this movie is so crazy. This story is so crazy. I freaking love it. They had a kill order out on her and she ended up dying. And when she was dying, all of the cats came to her, including the cat that she had saved earlier that day, and she was reborn. I fully believe that the cat knew she was going to die that day and was just testing her to see if she was worthy of this gift that this cat gave her. The cat gave her the gift of rebirth, the gift of knowing her full power and goddess energy. I love this because when you go through a transformation, when you go and step into your dark feminine, it is an entire rebirth. It's like you're being reborn. You done shifted into a new identity. You cannot go back to your old lifestyle in the same way. You may be able to live your same lifestyle, but you are not the same person whatsoever. So if you guys don't really know about cats, cats are super powerful beings. They can like jump 4 times their height. When they fall, they always land on their feet because their body literally contorts itself as they're falling down. So they always land on their feet. And when Patience wakes up after quote unquote dying, she doesn't really remember what happened, but she immediately notices a shift because she is brought into her powers. And that reminds me of when you're on a spiritual journey and you tap into your inner power. And sometimes that stuff can like shock you and scare you, especially if you're psychic. Especially if you have any of the clairs, and the first time you figure out that you have a clair, it's like, whoa, like what was that? Especially if you can hear spirits or see spirits, it's just like a shocking thing to realize your own power. I know for me, I can hear people's thoughts, I can hear what they're thinking, and sometimes I'll say something that someone was thinking and then it'll shock them because it's like, what? Or I'll say how somebody's feeling and they're like, how did you even know that I picked up on that? And it's like, it's my gift. The cat appears to her again and she sees the tag and goes to the owner's house. When she goes to owner's house, she's a cat lady, and I love this because all of her cats are named after like historical figures. I love her cat Socrates. I just love it. This lady is an intelligent woman, and I love that her house is like this small, it's like it's this small little house around buildings where she said, fuck gentrification, y'all not making me move, I'm not selling my house to you. So they literally built around that. That is setting your boundaries and standing in your power. Okay, basically that woman kind of like her mentor and like just breaks down her what happened to her, how she died, how she was reborn, how this is a gift.
You died, but you were reborn. Oh, you're crazy.
And explain to her the power of this gift, the power of being a true woman and having true freedom.
Cat women are not contained by the rules of society. You follow your own desires. You will experience a freedom other women will never know.
That is what I love about dark goddesses, is that they're misunderstood as being like wrathful or lustful or manipulative or whatever the hell else people who don't understand their darkness are, when the truth of the matter is embracing your shadow side means that you accept every single part of yourself. You're not good nor bad, you're both. It's not black or white. It's the freedom to choose who you want to be every single day.
You spent a lifetime caged. By accepting who you are, all of who you are, you can be free.
And to recognize the good parts about you and the bad and using both of them to your advantage. It's getting rid of the guilt or shame for being who you are. Getting rid of guilt and shame is true power. I know I went through that myself, especially this year. I got rid of a lot of guilt and shame involving my sexuality and being a sexual person, because I feel like I've always been more of a sexual person, but you know, religious backgrounds like shame you out of it, especially like people who are scared to explore their own kinks or are scared to be assertive and just set boundaries. There are some people out here who are so like people pleasing that they're scared to set their own boundaries and stand firm in their power because they're scared of how everybody will look at you. And with this gift that she has brought to herself, it's okay to want pleasure. It's okay to want to go after the things that you want. It's okay to speak up for yourself. It's okay to know that you're that bitch. Basically, she woke up and realized, hey, I'm that bitch. When you first go through this journey, it's still a little bit of shock because you know deep inside that this new person is trying to emerge. This new person is trying to come out. And you'll still be apologizing for it because you're not used to this type of power. When I first got into my villain era, I guess you guys know how I feel about villain era and how it's just a mask, and that's really not embracing your dark feminine. It's just what people do to justify being a shitty person sometimes. But it's needed. It's needed. It's like when you first get into spirituality and some people can end up being like a little annoying and hotepness. If you're black, you get what I mean by that. She was apologizing for her impulses, like, because she had these impulses that she did not have before.
Didn't mean it. Did I?
She's learning how to speak up for herself. She's not the same person she was before. So sometimes she'll do or act in ways that don't make sense to her because she's thinking from her old self, but her body is not her old self anymore. That's not her essence. That's not her vibration. And I remember when I first started to speak up for myself and set boundaries, it was hard for me because it was something I'm not used to. It was something unknown. So sometimes I would over-explain why I have my boundaries. Sometimes I would apologize where there was no apology needed. The more you go deeper into it, the more you learn to accept yourself, the more you're like, fuck these people and everybody around them. Either you treat me right and you respect me, or I move on. It's no longer, oh, I'm scared to lose people. Oh, I'm scared to say the wrong thing. I'm scared to get fired. Now it's like, what they gonna do? Fire me?
Who gonna check me, boo?
What they gonna do? Not be my friend? You disrespect me and you expect me to keep you around in my life? Nah, we're not doing that. So basically in that energy, she got fired because she told off her boss, rightfully so. That man was yearning for being told off. Honestly, I think she was really light with it. She could have been 10 times worse, but it was amazing to watch. And even her bestie knew it was amazing to watch because like I said, her bestie is that black cat energy, but the roles kind of reversed and her bestie was more of the golden retriever to that black cat. Because girl, when I tell you that black cat energy came out, that black cat energy came out and I was living for every single second of it. The detective that she met earlier, you know, they kind of had a little thing going on. And she was scared to hit him up. And her best friend Sal was like, girl, if you don't hit that man up. One thing I've noticed that women who are more meek do, because I used to do this before I realized my own power, before I allowed myself to be attractive, because for a long time I didn't think I was attractive. I would just go after any guys that like me because I got what I got. I thought I can only get what I get. I didn't allow myself to put myself out there, whether it be business, anything, relationships, anything. I just didn't allow myself to put myself out there because I didn't feel like I was worthy or deserving enough. And honestly, that is robbing you from an experience, because what's the worst they can say is no. Patience was questioning talking to the detective and going on a date with him. And Sal was like, every time you meet a nice guy, you do this. Every time you meet a nice guy, you talk yourself out of it. And it's so true. How many times have you self-sabotaged yourself from something so good because you feel internally like it's not going to work out? You talk yourself out of it before anything good can blossom. And I know for me, I've done that time and time again. And there has to be a time where you just listen and say, enough is fucking enough. I want to really talk quick about how her and the detective met up, because she ditched him for coffee. That fine, you better not ditch no fine man. She ditched that fine man for coffee and went to apologize to him. And when she did, he was like teaching at I guess it's kind of like DARE. He was like a police officer teaching kids to be good and stay in school and don't do drugs, whatever. So they went on the playground. They were playing basketball. And when I tell y'all, that basketball scene was the best. She did not let the fact that she has these powers now, her feline powers now, stop her from beating that man's ass in basketball. And she did it with a smile. And I just loved every second of it, because if a man can accept you in your power and not be scared of it and run away, he's a keeper, y'all. He's a keeper. There were other events that in the past would have just ignored and would have just let go. But now is stepping up and saying, hell no, y'all gonna respect me and respect everybody else, because quite frankly, this movie did show how men can overlook women and be disrespectful. And not just men, anybody. I would call them the pygmishas of them all. If you watch Sprinkle Sprinkle, you know what I'm talking about, the pygmishas. But men in the pygmishas can be really disrespectful. And with her new cat feline energy, she really said enough is enough. And she started to dive in and study more about Bast, study more about goddesses, study more about feline energy, feline power, and dark feminine. If you guys do study more about Bastet, you see that Bastet represents duality. She represents the moon and the sun. She represents harmony, light and dark. Divine feminine is dark feminine. You cannot avoid the dark feminine if you really want to embrace this divine feminine goddess-like energy. Look at any goddess coach. The real goddess coaches on YouTube. They will talk about using feminine and dark feminine. They go together. You need light and dark. You cannot just be one. You can tell when someone's too into their light because they think they're Jesus. They think they're Jesus. And honestly, they can be very manipulative too. People too into their light and feminine can be manipulative too. Don't think they can't be. It's like when you see a celebrity that everybody thinks is the most best person on the earth, and then when they are unalived or when their reign is over, stuff comes up that they were hiding, that they really weren't a good person, that it was all a mask. Yeah, that can happen with the light feminine. It can happen also with the dark feminine when you dive too much into it. It's a balanced thing. You may be a little bit more light than dark or dark than light. That's fine, but you have to acknowledge and love and accept both. The thing about Catwoman that I love is that she follows her own desires. And with this is a blessing and a curse. When you dive more into your spirituality, when you're a quote unquote chosen one, when you dive more into your dark feminine journey, you will definitely be misunderstood. But honestly, if you look at her journey and if you are personally on your own dark feminine journey, especially talking about myself, you were always misunderstood. You were always misunderstood. But now with this Catwoman energy she has, she gives herself permission to be misunderstood, to not care, to not over explain. And the people for her will be for her and people against her will be against her. There's no more trying to convince people to be on your side. Either you're with me or you're not. And if you're not, well, that's fine. I'll move on. This dark feminine energy, this Catwoman energy is a freedom that not that many women know, because it's a hard thing to comprehend if you're not ready to comprehend it. And I love that more women are speaking out about it, especially on social media, like on YouTube. I think it's a little misconstrued on TikTok, I'm not gonna lie, because you can't really explain something like this in a 15-second video. I know there's 10-minute videos, but you know we don't have the attention span for that. I really do commend the women that take the time to explain spirituality, sexuality, feminine energy, working with dark feminine energy, working with goddesses. More women need to tap into this. I feel like they lie to us with this patriarchy. They lie to us with this imbalance, feeling like we have to ask permission from a man before doing anything. And not even from a man, from these institutions created by men, from this societal standard created by men. Being in your dark feminine is literally saying fuck that. We see that with the rise of communication, with the age of Aquarius, with things like the Me Too movement, the body positivity movement. These type of things are bringing forth, hey, why are we listening to these people? Why are we listening to these standards created by the patriarchal society? Fuck that. We're gonna do what we want to do. We're gonna be how we want to be, and we're free to do that. And yes, they will make you seem crazy and ostracize and put you to the side. How many celebrities, female celebrities, have you seen been called crazy, been overlooked, been misunderstood, like the Fiona Apples, okay, like the Khaleesi's, like the Solanges, like the Grace Jones, like the Lady Gagas? They're misunderstood because they are so free in themselves. People run away from their shadow a lot. I used to be one of those people that ran away from my shadow a lot because I knew I had thoughts and feelings and ideas that weren't the norm. I knew I had a rage inside of me that wasn't the norm, because Black women can't be angry. Women can't say no. It's like in Once Upon a Time. I don't know if you guys watched that show, the Peter Pan season. I think it's season 3. That's my favorite season of Once Upon a Time, because you see how, this is why I say this is created by men, this whole stupid patriarchal beauty standard shit. Because one, Peter Pan was afraid to grow old. Now you see that in beauty standards because everybody's afraid to grow old. Peter Pan, a man, was afraid to grow old. So he found a way to keep himself young forever. And not only that, he was afraid of his shadow. Peter Pan was so afraid of his shadow, he separated himself from it. This is the issue. You have to accept yourself and accept your shadow side. I am not saying that journey is easy. It wasn't for me. I had to heal trauma. I had to heal past trauma. I had to heal deep-seated things in me that were put on me, and also experiences. And also I had to free myself from my own mind. I'm not saying it's an easy process, but once you do it, that level of freedom is iconic. iconic. Now that Patience is fully aware of where she is, now she's fully aware that she has this goddess power in her, she starts to explore it a little bit. And this is what I call the basic bitch villain era. I'm gonna be honest, this is the villain era. This is where she starts to dive more into her pleasure. She gives herself more freedom to be that bad bitch. You know, she starts to cut her hair up, dress differently, do her makeup darker aesthetic, the siren aesthetic, the red lip aesthetic. This girl went from wearing no makeup to, you know, looking kind of like this, kind of like my makeup right now. And y'all, that Catwoman outfit, I love every single Catwoman outfit. Let's be honest about that. But this Catwoman outfit was the first one I was ever exposed to, and it was iconic. Oh my gosh, it was iconic. I love the rips in it. I love how she had the diamond claws. And I love how Catwoman's free. The best explanation of being light and dark and having both the shadow side and the light side, she saw these men robbing a bank. And so she went in there and stopped them from robbing the bank because that's the right thing to do. That's the hero side. Now the anti-hero side is she saw some items in there that she wanted herself and she took them. Because why not? Like, they were cute. She took them. She wanted them. She took them. That's the freedom side of it. That's the side that divulges in her pleasure. I feel like in the beginning it was hard for her to balance because when you start to embrace your shadow side, for her, I feel like she would do it and then once she got out of it, apologize for doing it. So she went in there trying to stop the burglars, doing the right thing, and then she stole some things. When she woke up in the morning and realized she stole things, she brought majority of it back and apologized for it. Now she did this in like an inconspicuous way, so no one knew who she was. I'll say one thing about embracing your dark feminine energy, embracing your shadows, is that when you're ready for this type of energy and you start to accept yourself, you have to be in a level of safety in yourself and in your body that you were not before. And it just naturally comes, honestly. However, your body knows that you feel safe. Sometimes triggers can come up, traumatic events can come up because your body feels like it's safe enough to show you. When you're in a state of stillness and when you're in a state of self-acceptance, sometimes the things that you forgot from the past can come back up. And that happened with Patience. She started to remember the day she died. And that set her on the journey to find out the motherfucker who killed her and kill them. Yeah, because why they kill her? She didn't do nothing. The beauty of being the divine feminine, the beauty of embracing your dark feminine is you stop black and white thinking. And I noticed personally, I had that issue, especially being neurodivergent. Now, I will say, sometimes people use gray areas as a way to be manipulative when things are clearly right and wrong, like racism. In the beginning with her villain era journey, at night, she would display more of her like dark feminine aspects. In the day, she would display more of her light feminine aspects. But slowly but surely, she started to display the dark feminine in the lighttime. And that's when I think she started to accept herself for who she is. It's so funny because when she was actually trying to help people, when she was actually trying to find the bad guy, they villainized her. They put her in the news as the person who was causing all this mayhem in the city when she was actually trying to stop it. Now, is she a perfect person? No. Did she whoop people's asses and steal some things? Yes. But she was not the person killing everybody. She was not the one who was murdering everyone. Someone saw her in her energy and decided to use her as the scapegoat in the face of all of these murders. And sometimes that can happen when you're on your dark feminine journey. These people who cannot accept that you are this person will try to villainize you. Look at the Sprinkle lady. Look at Shira. I love Shira. She makes videos for a certain demographic. Shira recognizes that she is not a good person nor a bad person. She is just Shira, okay? Not the sunlight coming in making me look good. Her videos are not to make you be the best person in the world. Her videos are specifically so you can be well taken care of in a relationship with a man, right? But on TikTok, they villainize her and everybody talks about her, makes videos, makes stitches, talking about how she's a bad person, she cheated, she went with a married man, and it's like, she has never denied these things about her. And that's the thing I love about dark feminine energy. You fully accept who you are, good or bad. You don't deny those parts of you. How can someone attack you if you already know who you are? Shira basically said, yeah, and I did. And I did. And I did. I did cheat and was cheated on. I did not marry him for love. I married him for money. I saw a video recently where she was like, you have to know what you're going into things with. This is a whole side tangent. If you're going into a marriage for money, that's what you're going into a marriage for. If you're going into a marriage for love, that's what you're going into a marriage for. You have to know what you're getting into, and you have to know who you are before you do something. And I fully agree with that. I was watching another woman, I can't remember her name right now, but she also does teach a lot of goddess work on YouTube. And she was talking about how spiritual women can be taken advantage of because they do not have boundaries, because they're healers. So they feel like it's their job to fix everyone. And yes, you are a healer, but when you don't have your own protection up, when you don't have your own boundaries upheld, that's when you can get into abusive relationships, like being with a narcissist. And you open yourself up to that, not knowing your shadow side, not embracing the dark side, not embracing the boundaries, not saying what you want. And I love that Shira is like, that's what I wanted. Take it or leave it. And to me, that's better than being in a relationship where someone puts on a mask, tells you who they think you want them to be, and then you get with them, and like literally 3 months later, because you won't be able to keep up this mask forever, 3 months later, they're the complete opposite. In this movie, there is two feminine energies going on at the same time, and I experienced this in my life personally. Once again, I'm telling y'all, this movie, if you're in your dark feminine journey, watch this when you start to get in your dark feminine journey, and then watch it again when you fully embrace your dark feminine journey. There is something to be said about false prophets when you embrace your dark feminine journey. Because the false prophets are the people who are trying to seem like the good guy and will make everybody else seem like the bad guy. So long story short, Patience's boss had a wife who was the face of the company. The wife that was the face of the company turned out to be the bad guy. But because she seemed like this goddess energy, this higher up, this very powerful woman that was doing good for the world and helping women achieve this ageless beauty, no one pegged her as the villain when she was the true villain. And when they finally caught Patience and had her arrested off of false claims, mind you, that's when Patience fully embraced who she is. She fully understood that this is a life of being misunderstood. This is a life of a loner. This is a life where I have to just embrace my power and move on.
It's not just about me anymore, Midnight.
To be honest, this isn't a morbid sounding thing when I say like this is a lonely journey, because it is a solo journey. And I think that's what Patience realized in jail. This is a solo journey. I have to save myself. I can't sit here and wait for people to feel like I'm a good person, see me as a good person, want me as a good person, want me in their lives. I have to want myself and advocate for myself. Baby, when you have that realization, like I have had recently, it changes everything. In my personal life, I am like in a state I don't want to be in. I want to move, but the funds aren't there yet. I've been trying to manifest this new life for me for so long. And honestly, not that long. It's only been since last October, but I haven't seen quote unquote movement. And for the longest time, something's gonna happen. Someone's gonna come in and save me, which all could have very well happened. But there was a moment where I realized no one's gonna save you. No one is going to save you. It's not anyone's responsibility to come in and save you. It's not anyone's responsibility to fix your life. And honestly, that was hard for me to accept at first, and I bet it was hard for Patience to accept. Like, she was in a freaking jail cell looking at her life like, how did we get here? And to be honest, in that movie, it literally was only like a week of her life. It was not that long of a time. It wasn't like this was a span over years. This was a span over like a few weeks in her life. She went from being this meek, quiet, shy artist to a criminal, falsely accused criminal in jail. She saw that no one was gonna save her because the only person that she needed to believe that she could get herself out of that situation was herself. And I resonate with that because I recently realized the only person that can get me out of this is me. People can help you along the way, yes, because she did have someone help her along the way. You have to decide that you are powerful enough. When she escaped jail, that was the light bulb moment that she needed, and was no longer afraid, and this is important, no longer afraid to fully embody her power. You will not realize how powerful you are once you are no longer afraid of it. Once you are no longer afraid to fully embrace your power, however that will manifest and look like for you, that's when you stop playing small. That's when you stop apologizing for yourself. And that's when you are like, I am who I am. Take it or freaking leave it. Baby, take it or leave it. And yes, knowing your power will intimidate people, especially men, but it will intimidate people because they will sense it. They will sense it on you. You won't even have to say anything. You can walk in a room and people will feel it. All eyes will be on you, babe. All eyes will be on you. So at the end was this monumental, and honestly, if you are in a spiritual sense, a very spiritual fight between the perceived versions of light and dark feminine. Darkness won. But in that fight, you saw how light can be manipulative. And I always go back to people pleasing, because when I first realized that people pleasing is a form of manipulation, it rocked my whole world because I could not fathom that I was being manipulative. When you're trying to control how someone else sees you, that is manipulation. Plain and simple. And you saw how the boss's wife was a prison to her own self. She was a prison to her cosmetic line because her cosmetic line was toxic. And this showed that no matter how much people try to beat you down, if you fully know who you are and stand in your power, no one can ever take power away from you ever again. In the end, Patience moved from this journey, decided to go alone. And it seems like it's the end, but it's actually the beginning. What was ending was her old world. She could no longer live in that world anymore because she's not that person. And that's the key that happened when you do move into a reality and shift timeline. It was time for her to start her new beginning alone, where she could be free to be bad. She could be free to be good. She could be free to delve into her pleasures and speak her mind and uphold her boundaries. And she could be free to be sexy and be her and be feminine, you know? And unfortunately, that meant that she could not be with Tom, the detective that she fell in love with, because he is a part of her old world. And I noticed that does happen when you do move into a new reality. Sometimes you have to leave things behind that you don't want to leave behind, but it is for the greater good. And also, you learn to appreciate the relationships that you come across, no matter how long of time they're meant to be there. When you learn to detach and not hold on to things, you can see a relationship for how beautiful it is and appreciate that you got to enjoy that relationship for how long it was. Not everything is supposed to be meant in your life forever. Honestly, nothing is forever. And I just love that message at the end of the movie.
My journey begins.
So everybody hug their cats. Appreciate your kitty. I literally have a black cat on my black cat energy journey, dark feminine, whatever you want to call it. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Say hi, Lovey.